let's hear your perspective, seeing that this allegation is that Nigeria is harboring a terrorist group, as far as we know, in the hope of destabilizing a neighboring country. And when the facts show that Nigeria has been battling with terrorist entities for quite some time now, and so does it all make sense, these allegations?
Well, thank you very much, Will. I don't think it adds up because from experience, if you look at what is happening or what has happened in other countries, you know the Americans had their area in Afghanistan. When the Soviet Union or the Russians were in Afghanistan, it was the Americans that brought up the Taliban and armed them and supported them against the Soviets. Now, the Taliban later on had a rough deal with the Americans, and in the end, America has to have a hasty retreat out of that country. So no country in its right senses will want to have terrorist groups in its country and to be used against others, because they will definitely turn against you. I think we discussed this last time on this channel with you, where we found out that the Lakuras themselves were brought in by a traditional ruler in Sokoto state to ostensibly to help them fight bandits who are rustling their animals and the rest. Now, in the end, he was consumed by the Lakuras. So it's a common thing for you to know that even at that level, at the small level, it happened that they turn against those who brought them in. And so for you to now, for a country as Nigeria, with all these strategic inputs, with all the institutions of state in place, to harbor a terrorist group to be used against Niger doesn't add up. In any case, the story itself, from a strategic perspective, I tell you as a military personnel, why would France withdraw and then come back to do a forced entry into Niger to attack the regime? They would have used the period when they say move out of that place, and in the process of moving out, attack and take over that country. Why do you have to go out and come back more in a way that is going to be more expensive, more risky, because you are going to have more logistics of moving troops from a base, staging base, and then having a forced entry into a country, establishing a foothold before you do all your attacks? Why do you need that? You are already on ground. You only have all the facilities on ground. All the officers that you were there had known, and they had interacted with all officers. They had all the reports of them. They knew where they are and how they could take them up one by one. So I think France could have done that, as against going back out to Benin Republic, Nigeria, and set up bases and then go back and attack. It doesn't add up naturally. It's something that you will not even start thinking of. Now, if you look at it again, you say the names that they brought up, like you said, was to give them credibility. In any case, they were not names, because terrorism is an international crime against humanity. So their sharing of information, and who did they pick up? Our Director of National Intelligence then, Ahmed Rufai, who was interacting with them, which they know him very well. The National Security Advisor, they know him very well. So those interactions are there. But what even beats my imagination is that somebody will leave Nigeria and fly to Central African Republic to go and plan there. Central African Republic has no borders with Nigeria. There's no contiguity. You have to pass through either Cameroon, or you go through Chad to get to Nigeria. How do they ferry those arms and the rest? Does it add up? They don't even add up. So I think the internal dynamics itself, like was mentioned by my previous contributors, the internal dynamic itself in Niger is telling me, because there is crisis of expectation. There's high hopes. You send out the French, will take control of our affairs, and things will be good. But as it is now, they are not as what they want. They thought it will be. So what do? you want to divert attention. And by diverting attention is to look at Nigeria and look at the internal dynamics and the fault lines in Nigeria and target northern Nigeria, so that you can whip up sentiments against a regime that is either being thought to be anti-North in court, anti-Niger in court, being because he's the chairman of ECOWAS who said they are going to hit ECOWAS. So what do you look at the fault lines and then use that? So I think that in itself, and if you look at those who came out with the news about the basis where they from, and you see how vehement or how serious they were about it. So you link up. And the last point that I want to raise seriously is that the Russians have a system that they call Maskarova. Maskarova is you target the highest echelon of any government, so any level, and sort of deceive. Is a deception method that you deceive them using your intelligence assets. And part of that intelligence asset is to create that sense of insecurity that you need to fill the vacuum that the French provided for you before. And so you needed us, and that you have serious threats coming from Nigeria, which is the hegemon around this area. You have Niger, Benin Republic, which is your economic route. So you need to have a force that will be in your place, institute, or a hegemon that will be able to support you. So what you now need is that you need a country that will come and fill that vacuum, and that will be the Russians in many cases, because the Americans and the French will not do that bit, because they have set up the Americans to themselves. So Russia itself wants to occupy that place. So if you see Maskarova working that perfectly well for the regime, and to look at it, like how did the Lacroix come into this thing? They were invited not from Mali but from Niger. They were already inside Niger. So they were invited from Niger, and they had the backing of the former regime. Like I told you earlier on, they are part of a Fulani militia force which transmitted into the Lacroix to fight those who are rustling the cattle and the rest. So they were used to all. They are armed by the Nigerian government. They know them. The leadership, they know them. And the arms was provided by them. So it's not something new. So if the former regime did that, if they want to dismantle that the Lacroix, that they can do it, because they know the leadership and they know the set of arms and ammunition that they have supplied to them. However, because they have links now with other terrorist groups, it's going to be difficult. But the Nigerian government needs to put its acts together and start trying to solve its problem, rather than casting aspersions against other countries, thinking that what they are doing is to put the blame on Nigeria and have justification to whip up sentiments both in their country and Nigeria. I think it's something that needs to be done in a way that should be done in a more civilized and strategic way of doing things, not these ways of trying to put that weight across.